Hey guys, Stuck with the Jake here. Today I'm going to be talking about a few things. First off, I want to start just by saying because I'm going to be talking about a few things that may be a little bit controversial, but that really depends upon your interpretation of that. Anyway, first off I want to say I'm going to probably be looking at my phone a little bit because I might be getting any text messages a few times. Or I'm going to be looking off of a quote from my phone, so sorry about that if you guys have a problem with that. Anyway, and if you hear weird noise, it's probably the birds. They're squeaking. They're outside. Well, they're in the kitchen right now, so they're squeaking a little bit. So bear in mind with that. But anyway, I made a promise to a buddy of mine that I would mention his name today in my next video, and this is my next video. So hi. Justin, I hope that you watch this, and now you won't want to hit me with anything, like a book or anything like that. Anyways, today I'm thinking of I'm going to be talking about two subjects. The reason why I'm going to be talking about the two of them is because I'm going to be tying them together, and these are probably going to be some of the real first two subjects that I talk about where I might get a little bit, actually get passionate about it. The first is going to be, I'm going to be talking about abortion, and the second will be gay marriage. If I start to get off topic about any of that, I apologize. That's very likely, and that's why the series is called Confused Ramblings. And first off, I want to start off with a quote from my very good friend, Wendy Mason. Hi Wendy, if you're watching this. This is her quote, and she agrees with me on abortion. I didn't talk to her about gay marriage, I don't think, so I don't have a quote from her on that. But what I do have is her quote involving pro-life versus pro-choice. Why in a country where people escape to find freedom would we endeavor to infringe upon it? As well, learn your science. Ignorance without research is moronic. To summarize what she's saying, she's saying that why would we, when we put into law, we make it illegal for women to have an abortion. Why is it that we would take away the freedom of a woman to choose what she should do with her own child? And that's the point that she's making, and I agree with that. Excuse me, what's the point in taking away the right of a woman to choose what she wishes to do with her child? It should be up to her, not anyone else. Not a single other person really should have the decision on what a woman should do with her body, period, including abortion. That's my standpoint on it. And if you want, excuse me, and if you want to argue whether or not it's a morally correct decision, that's your business. If you want to say that the moment that that egg is fertilized, and you want to say that that is the moment that that is a child, that is a child, that is entirely your decision, and that is your opinion of where life begins. But your opinion on that should not be put into legislation. That should not be a law. That's what I believe. That's why I believe abortion should be completely 100% legalized for the women that believe life begins at whatever point that they say, this is where my child is my child. That should be their decision, not the decision of a lawmaking body or the decision of anybody else for that matter. It should be up to the mother to choose when she considers life to be life. Nobody else. Just her. That's what I believe. And I don't really believe that you should be putting your personal biases or your personal ideas into law. And by that I mean you really shouldn't be placing things such as gays can't be married and abortions shouldn't be legal because you don't believe, for whatever reason, whether it be because you believe it's against your God, or whether you believe it's simply a morally incorrect decision from whatever standpoint you have, whether you consider life to be whenever. Whatever your reason, I don't believe that should be put into legislation, because it's not. It's not up to you what somebody else does. If my neighbor wants to, or anybody living around here, or anybody, period, is their wife or their girlfriend or they themselves are pregnant, and they decide, I can't handle giving birth, and I can't afford trying to be a parent, and I can't go through the process of going through an adoption agency, and I could somehow afford having an abortion, well then yes, go ahead. I believe that is, if that's what you want to do, that's completely fine. That is your decision. And that's essentially, that's what I believe, is that it's up to an individual person to say, I believe that is the best decision for me in my life. And one of the better arguments against pro-life is, what about when, when pro-life argues it's wrong because that's when life is whenever they consider it to be life, whenever that woman becomes pregnant. But the point is that what I'm trying to say, without rambling too much, is, oh crap, I just had something. Wow, sorry, completely blanked there. What I'm trying to say is that a common argument for why a woman should not have an abortion is, well, they can just give that child up to adoption. I don't really believe that the adoption agencies are really that viable of an option, unless that's really what you want to do. As far as I know, in this country, the adoption agencies are so swamped right now. It's incredible. It would be amazing for that to work out. It's not as easy as just sign up. It's not like there are hundreds of thousands of parents all across the United States. I mean, sure there are, but it's just not that simple. It's just not as easy as, well, you can still give birth and you can just give that baby up to adoption. It's really just not that simple. The adoption system is just so overflooded with cases like that it's ridiculous. You can't just say you can just have an adoption, and that in itself is a difficult process, and I believe it's also pretty expensive. Abortion in itself is also a very difficult, very trying experience. I wouldn't say experience, very trying situation for a woman, and I believe that it should be their choice. That's why it's called pro-choice, because it should be up to the woman to choose what she wants, not anybody else but her, and conceivably the man that got her pregnant. Conceivably, if that's the situation. Whatever the situation may be, I believe that the woman should have the decision of whether or not she should have an abortion. I don't believe anybody else says. I don't believe it's their business. And that's ultimately the major point, is that it is nobody else's business what a woman does with her body and whether or not she gets an abortion or not. That's her business. That's what I believe, is that it's entirely her business, not the business of somebody that's, not even in their life, that has no business involving with that person. Now, after I explained that rather horribly, let's move on to gay marriage. It's essentially the exact same thing, unless it's not like a gay man just comes up to you and says, marry me. And if you're a woman, it's not like a woman just comes up to you and says, marry me. It's none of your business whether or not somebody gets married or not. It's really none of your business. It's none of my business. It's the business of that couple. Nobody else's. Nobody should be able to make a law that says you can't get married to this person for whatever reason. If you want to get married to a guy, go ahead, man. Works for you. If some girl wants to get married to a girl, that's her business. Works for you, works for you. That's what that's the point. I don't care if you're going to say, well, God considers homosexuality wrong. Well, you know what? I don't care what your God thinks. Keep your God out of the laws of the country. You kind of need to do that. There's a separation of church and state here. You really shouldn't use God as an argument for a law. Not in this country, or really in any country for that matter. You really shouldn't. God is not a convincing argument for why two people right here, right now, can't get married just because two of them have dicks and two of them have vaginas. I don't really think that that should be a thing that a book that was written thousands of years ago should really have say in today. Come on. I don't understand why I don't understand why that's something that we can actually debate now. I'm very confused. Why is it that it's anybody else's business? It should be up to an individual whether or not they get married to whoever they want. It's really no business of anybody else's. And that's really the point, is that it should be up to a mother to have an abortion, give the baby up to adoption, or to just be the parent of that child. That's her business. It should be up to the man and the woman and the woman, to decide whether or not they want to get married. Nobody else's business, nobody else's concern, nobody else's laws. It should simply be up to whether or not somebody wants to do that or not. It should be their choice, not the choice of a lawmaker or a citizen that has absolutely no business in somebody's personal life. Individuals should have the right to make their own choices. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. Enjoy the videos. Have a good one.